This lesson is on social etiquette and manners. Through your junior ROTC experience, you'll meet new people and interact in many different situations, such as dining ins or dining outs, which are discussed later in this lesson. Military social occasions are filled with tradition and ceremony. It is important that each cadet know how to properly prepare and conduct themselves at these occasions. When you know the rules for proper etiquette, you will feel more relaxed and confident in these situations. You will also have a chance to make a good impression on others. This lesson's essential question is, why are social etiquette and manners important? I would like you to think about this as we go through this lesson.
Think about some daily habits and how easy or difficult it would be to change them. Proper social conduct and behavior are important elements of your character development. Although this lesson concentrates on etiquette and manners required at military and social events, the information here is useful for other aspects of life. Manners are based on kindness, respect, thoughtfulness, and consideration. The rules of etiquette may vary with the changing times, but good manners are timeless. As you read about the rules of proper etiquette and the practice of good manners, remember that social etiquette and good manners are nothing more than common courtesy, sincerity, and consideration of others. It is important to treat others in the same way you want others to treat you. This is the very foundation on which a polite society is built. Think about the rules of conduct and courtesy you follow when you are in public. How many times have you attended school activities or social events with friends and met up with their friends, only to awkwardly stand around because you were not introduced to the new people joining the group? In social occasions, introductions are important to make everyone feel welcome and part of the group. Introductions should be simple, direct, and dignified, and the act of making them should be a formal occasion. They should be made whenever people gather socially, even for short periods. Introductions should also be made automatically and immediately when discovering that two people do not know each other. This helps establish a connection between two people who may be strangers. You may make these introductions or have someone else do it if custom demands. If you neglect an introduction, however, you run the risk of being seen as rude. There is nothing mysterious about making introductions, unless you do not know what to do. First question, what is etiquette? Is it A, formal English food, B, behaviors based on rules of a polite society, C, the proper way to wear a military uniform, or D, parents' support for public education? The answer is B, behaviors based on rules of a polite society.
We will prepare for this lesson by discussing the key questions of the student learning plan. What will you accomplish in this lesson? Demonstrate proper etiquette in social settings. Why is this lesson important? There will be many occasions in life that will require you to interact in a variety of situations. By knowing the rules of proper etiquette, you will not only make a good impression, you will feel more relaxed, confident in unfamiliar situations. In this lesson, you will explore the proper social conduct and behavior for a variety of situations, including the cadet ball.
Learning objectives. Analyze etiquette and manners in formal and informal settings. Explain the handling of social invitations. Demonstrate proper dining etiquette. Correlate the historical significance of dining in, dining out, and the cadet ball. Define key words: dignitary, a person of importance, or someone who holds high office. Dining in, a formal dinner for members of the military only. Dining out, a formal dinner to which non-military guests are invited. Etiquette, a code of behavior or courtesy based on the rules of a polite society. Manners, socially correct ways of acting as shown in widespread custom. Monopolize, to take exclusive ownership or control, as in conversations with others. Place card, a name card for a formal dinner. Receiving line, a group of people including the host and honored guests who stand in a line and individually welcome guests attending a social function. RSVP, a French expression that means please reply. A reply to let the host of an event you have been invited to know that you can or cannot attend. Stilted, stiff, lofty, overly dignified, pompous, or artificial language. Think about the various ways to introduce someone. Introductions at a formal reception, such as a cadet ball, may often include a receiving line. It is customary and often mandatory that all cadets and their guests go through the receiving line upon arrival. The people who would be in the receiving line include the host, the senior JRTC instructor or commander of the unit holding the reception, the honored guest, the spouse of the host, the next ranking guest with his or her spouse or guest, other special guests with their spouse or guests. A school district superintendent and principal are considered honored guests. In a receiving line, such as that held for a military ball, which people are encouraged to attend as couples, the lady precedes the unit member through the receiving line. The member introduces the guest first to the Cadet Corps adjutant or other Corps representative, who often announces the names of all attendees to the host. If the couples attend the military ball are both JROTC cadets, the gentleman will precede the young lady and conduct the introductions. A cadet attending without a partner should introduce him or herself to the adjutant. Even though the adjutant may be a friend of yours, do not shake his or her hand. The adjutant will announce your name to the host as you step in front of him or her. A simple, pleasant greeting and a cordial handshake are all that is necessary when moving through the receiving line. Save lengthy conversations for later.
Should your name get lost in the line, repeat it for the benefit of the person doing the greeting. In the absence of an adjutant, the cadet still precedes the guest through the receiving line. The cadet introduces the guest first, and then introduces himself or herself directly to the host. After you have gone through the receiving line, you may proceed to the serving of refreshments or conversation with other guests and await the signal for the next event. If the receiving line and dining room are separate, do not enter the dining room until the signal to do so is given. For the remainder of the event, you will be responsible for making introductions as you move around the room during dinner and other activities. The following guidelines explain what you need to do.
When making personal introduction, avoid using elaborate phrases. Remember that introductions should be simple and direct. The general rule is that you introduce junior to senior. This applies to age and military rank, gentlemen to ladies, and so on. However, the degree of formality used when making an introduction depends on the position of the person or persons involved or the occasion. To introduce two people who are not near each other, you would typically take the lower ranking individual to the senior ranking person, the young lady to the older person, the gentleman to the lady, and so on.
When introducing someone to a dignitary, mention the dignitary first to show respect for the office he or she holds. Be sure to use the correct formal title for the dignitary when making the introduction. If you don't know the person's title, ask someone, such as your instructor, who would most likely know. Here are a few guidelines for introductions of people with titles. Introduce military personnel by their rank. For example, when introducing your guest to one of your JRTC instructors, you might say, Sergeant Allen, I would like you to meet Miss Jones. Introduce doctors, judges, or professors by their titles. Introduce members of Congress as senator or representative. Introduce Catholic priest as father. A Jewish rabbi is introduced as rabbi. Protestant clergy use titles such as the reverend, pastor, or doctor. However, others prefer to be addressed as Mr. or Miss. If the situation arose where you had to introduce a teacher to a parent, you would use the teacher's name first. For example, Major Cooper, I would like you to meet my mother, Miss Eastern. If both your parents were there, you would introduce the woman first and then the man, such as Major Cooper, I would like you to meet my parents, Miss Eastern and Mr. Eastern. If seated, you should arise to acknowledge an introduction and remain standing while other members of the party are being introduced to one another. When being introduced to ladies or gentlemen who are seated, you need not rise if rising may inconvenience others at the table.
Think about situations you will encounter as a cadet that will require proper introduction and manners. When introducing two people whom you know very well and who have heard you speak about the other, you may be more casual. For example, to introduce a cadet friend to your sister, you might say, Susie, this is Pete. In this example, it is perfectly acceptable to make the introduction using the first names of both people. However, do not use first names of an adult, a senior ranking individual, or other important person when introducing that person. When making an introduction, speak each name slowly and clearly to be sure the names will be understood. When you are being introduced to someone, make it a point of listening to the other person's name. Not remembering a name is common and easy to forgive. However, forgetting a name is not an excuse for not making an introduction. If you forget the name or did not hear it, apologize and ask the person to restate his or her name. Then use this name several times in conversation to help you remember it. If necessary, ask the person's name, with the appropriate apologies, before starting an introduction to another person. For example, I beg your pardon, sir or ma'am, but I have forgotten your name. Thank you, sir or ma'am. Colonel Smith, I would like you to meet Miss Jones. When you are introduced to others, it is proper to return courtesy such as nice to meet you, hello, I'm really glad to meet you, or how do you do. Additionally, when introduced to others, put your cell phone or electronic device away or down. Continuing to use your electronic device during introductions is rude and may give others the impression that you do not see them as important. When you introduce others, put your electronic device away before you make the introduction. And don't walk off and leave the two people staring at each other. As the person who made the introduction, you should either say something about each person to get the conversation started, or excuse yourself so that you and your guest can continue to move about the room and participate in some other event. When in doubt whether two people have met, it is perfectly fine to ask whether they have met. Be sure to address the senior first using a courtesy such as, Colonel Smith, have you met Mrs. Jones? If they have not met, make the introduction. Usually, most people will consider your question as equal to an introduction and will proceed with, how do you do? The biggest mistake people make is to assume that people know each other. There is no harm in introducing people who have already met, but it is inconsiderate to have strangers together without introducing them. When gentlemen are introduced to each other, they typically shake hands. Ladies who are GRTC cadets should also shake hands during introductions. However, as a more general rule, whenever a lady or a gentleman extends his or her hand as a form of greeting, the receiving party should extend his or her hand in return. Nothing could be ruder than ignoring a friendly gesture. A proper handshake is brief, but the clasp of the hand should feel warm. Maintain eye contact with the person whose hand you are shaking. Do not shake someone's hand violently or grasp their hand like a vice. During your time in JRTC, you will have many opportunities to receive awards and recognition. This recognition may include certificates, ribbons, or medals for doing something good for your school or community. It is important that you know how to receive this recognition, especially in uniform. If the award is being presented by a JRTC Army instructor, other enlisted personnel, or a civilian official, such as the principal, follow these rules. Offer the left hand to receive the award. Offer the right hand to shake the presenting official's hand. If the award is being presented by the senior Army instructor, in our case that's Lieutenant Colonel Hogan, or other military officer, follow these rules. Offer the left hand to receive the award. Offer the right hand to shake the officer's hand. Finally, come to attention, face the officer, and render the proper hand salute. Be sure to hold your salute until the officer returns your salute. Next question. The guest of honor for your dining out asks, what's the order of the receiving line? What should you tell her? A. You and your spouse are first, and the host and his spouse, and the company commanders and their spouses are guests. B. The host and his spouse are first, then you and your spouse, and then the company commanders and their spouses are guests. C. The host is first, then you and your spouse, then your host's spouse, and then the company commanders and their spouses are guests. Or D. The company commanders and their spouses or guests are first, the host and his spouse are second, and then you and your spouse. The answer is C. The host is first, then you and your spouse, then the host's spouse, and then the company commanders and their spouses or guests. As a general rule, when making introductions, introduce junior to senior in age and rank. A is true, B is false. The answer is A, true. Next question. Which of the following should you do when shaking hands? Is it A, look for someone to whom you can introduce them while shaking hands? B, stand at attention and only offer your hand when the other person puts their hand out? C, maintain eye contact with the person whose hand you are shaking? Or D, look at the other person's name badge so that you know their name? The answer is C, maintain eye contact with the person whose hand you are shaking. Which rules should you follow to receive awards or recognition? Is it A, offer the right hand to receive the award? B, offer the left hand to receive an award? C, wait to be instructed on how to receive an award? D, salute prior to receiving the award. The answer is B, offer the left hand to receive the award.
I would like you to ask yourself, given what we've discussed so far, how comfortable would you be participating in a formal receiving line? We will now complete exercise 1, proper introductions. From the dashboard of your cadet portfolio, you'll select the dining out plan, and then you'll scroll down to proper introductions. The directions. In your team, you will create a learning situation that teaches others how to make proper introductions in a variety of settings. Then you will rotate through the stations to practice the activities for the other topics. You're going to create an etiquette learning situation, and in your team, review the section in your textbook on your assigned topic. The topics include receiving line order, making formal introductions, including handshakes, introducing dignitaries, including handshakes, making formal introductions, common introduction courtesies, and handshake and salute protocol when accepting awards. Again, here in the topic, you're going to put the topic that you were assigned by your instructor. And then down here in the notes, you're going to place identify the topic and purpose, explain the proper procedure for completing the task, provide instructions, including materials and supplies as applicable, discuss why the rule of etiquette is important. Okay, you'll put that down here in the notes. You will then mark as complete, scroll back up to the top, and hit save. Table manners are an important part of social conduct. Proper manners around the table are not just reserved for special occasions. You should use them whenever you dine. Relaxed politeness is the key to any dining situation. When you know what to do, you can relax and enjoy yourself. This section will help you learn about the rules of the table. Does not sit down until all the ladies at his table are seated. He can help with the seating by holding the chair for each lady, first for his guests, and then for other ladies near him if the ladies outnumber the men. He does this by pulling out the lady's chair from the table far enough for her to move easily in front of it. Then, as the lady sits down, he gently pushes the chair under her until she is seated. When all ladies at the table are seated, he may then take his seat by going around the left side of his chair. Posture at the table should be straight but not stiff. If the lady leaves the table at any time, the gentleman who seated her rises and assists the lady with her chair. When the lady returns to the table, her escort or the gentleman who seated her rises and repeats the courtesies previously discussed. Polite dinner guests will not touch anything on the table, not even the napkin, until after the blessing or invocation has been said, or until it is obvious there will be no blessing. Then you may pick up the napkin and partially unfold it onto your lap. Do this unnoticeably. Do not unfold the dinner napkin completely or above the table.
Think about how a formal dining table is set. In the next slide, there will be a video of a formal dining table setup. At a large dinner, you may encounter a confusing array of silverware at your place setting, including one or two knives, two or three forks, two or three spoons. A formal table setting is shown here. If you have any doubt as to the correct piece of silverware used for a particular course, start with the outside piece of silverware and work inward. If you end up without a spoon or a fork, it is fine to ask for a replacement. Specialized pieces of silverware include a butter knife, soup spoon, dessert fork and spoon, iced tea spoon, oyster fork, and fish knife. The number in pieces of silverware indicates the number of courses expected. For example, a 6-course meal might include soup, fish, sorbet, a fruit-flavored ice cream used to cleanse the palate or clear the taste buds, salad, an entree, and dessert. The placement of the silverware indicates the order of these courses. In today's diverse social environment, you'll encounter different methods, manners, and courtesies of eating depending on your hosts, guests, and the occasion. To feel confident in any situation, you should be familiar with the proper use of silverware. In the American style of eating, food is cut as shown here. Hold the fork with your left hand tines down, with your index finger on the back of the fork. Secure the food being cut with the knife, which is held in your right hand. Cut in front of the fork, not behind it. After cutting no more than 2 or 3 bites of food, place the knife on the plate and transfer the fork to the right hand. This is called the zigzag method. When not using your knife and fork, place them separate across the top of your plate as shown in the picture on the left. This is the resting position. When you have finished the main course, place the knife and fork beside each other on the dinner plate diagonally from the upper left to the lower right, or from the 10 o'clock to the 4 o'clock position as seen in the picture on the right. This is the finished position and indicates that your plate may be removed. Various rules govern how to use silverware properly. These rules include: after you use a piece of silverware, do not place it back on the table. Do not leave a used spoon in a cup. Place it on the saucer. Do not leave a soup spoon in a soup bowl. You may leave it on the soup plate if one is provided, otherwise place it on the dinner plate when not in use. Do not lay a knife with the handle on the table and the tip of the blade on the edge of the plate. This also applies to the fork. Leave unused silverware on the table in its proper position. When eating soup, the motion of the soup spoon should be away from you while filling it. Sip from the side of the spoon, do not slurp. If it is necessary to tip the soup bowl, tip it away from you. If the soup is too hot to eat, let it sit until it cools. Do not blow on it. Bread, rolls, biscuits, nuts, fresh fruit, olives, celery, radishes, raw carrots, cookies, and small cakes may be eaten with your fingers. Place the finger food on the bread plate if there is one. If there is no bread plate, use the salad or dinner plate. As seen here, break your individual servings of bread, rolls, or large biscuits into small pieces before buttering and eating them, one piece at a time. Do not cut these items. Buttering and eating a whole roll or a whole slice of bread is also not appropriate. You should not tuck your napkin under your belt or wear it like a bib. Napkins are for dabbing lips, catching spills, and covering sneezes. Do not use a napkin to blow your nose. Never lick food from your fingers, always use your napkin. Before taking a drink of water or any other beverage, wipe your lips with your napkin to avoid leaving smears on the glassware. One quick light pass with the napkin should be enough. If you must leave the table during dinner, say "excuse me please" with no explanations and rise, placing your napkin on your chair. When leaving the table after dinner, place your napkin on the table in loose folds to the right of your plate. Do not refold, crumple, or twist it. Always push your chair into the table when you leave. There are many rules for table manners in your student reading. I'm going to go over a few of the most commonly violated ones. If place cards are used, do not remove them. In addition to showing the specific seating arrangement, place cards are used to make guests feel welcome and to help people get to know one another in large social settings. Hats, gloves, cell phones, cameras, purses, sunglasses, and so on do not belong on the table. If it is not part of the meal, do not put it on the table. If you burp, say "excuse me" to no one in particular, and continue eating. Do not make a big deal out of it. If you cannot easily reach something on the table, ask for it to be passed to you and say please and thank you. If you drop something, leave it on the floor until the meal is over and then pick it up. If it's a piece of silverware that falls onto the floor, pick it up if you can reach it, and let the server know you need a clean one. If you cannot reach it, tell the server you dropped a piece of silverware and ask for a clean one. Conversation is an important part of social interaction around the table. It is perfect for the enjoyment of good companionship and a pleasant meal. A few important tips include: try not to talk too quickly or too slowly. Keep the conversation light. Don't talk about controversial topics. Answer respectfully when addressed. Be mindful of engaging in conversation with a person who has just taken a bite of food. Remember, do not talk with food in your mouth. Be a good listener. Give others a chance to talk. Do not monopolize the conversation. Do not interrupt. Allow the other person to finish what he or she is saying before speaking. Do not ridicule or laugh at an unfortunate remark or someone's mistake. Next question. You have to supervise a group of cadets who will put the place settings out on the tables at your spring dining out. When one of them asks, "Why are there so many forks?" what should you say is the purpose for each? Is it A, X is the salad fork, Y is the dinner fork, and Z is the dessert fork? B, X is the dessert fork, Y is the salad fork, and Z is the dinner fork? C, X is the spare fork, Y is the primary fork, and Z is the serving fork? Or D, X is the serving fork, Y is the primary fork, and Z is the spare fork? The answer is A. X is the salad fork, Y is the dinner fork, and Z is the dessert fork. Where should you place a piece of silverware when not using it? Is it A, back on the table in the same position, B, with the tip resting on the plate and the handle on the table, C, separated across the top of your plate, or D, across the bread plate? The answer is C, separated across the top of your plate. Where should you place the napkin if you must leave the table during dinner? Is it A, to the right of your plate, B, on your chair, C, on the floor below your chair, or D, above your plate? The correct answer is B, on your chair. I'd like you to think about and answer the following questions to yourself. How comfortable would you be at a formal dinner or gathering? What information about the dining table and formal dinner manners and courtesies were new to you?
You're now going to complete exercise 2, what's on the table. From the dashboard, you're going to select dining out plan, and then you're going to select exercise 2, what's on the table. Directions. For this exercise, you will set a dining table. Below are the items found in a formal dining table. Each word item is numbered. Place the item number in the blank box where it belongs on the illustration. When you are finished, compare your completed illustration with the one found in your student text. So each one of these has a number. You're simply going to place the number in these boxes where the item would be located. Once you are done, mark as complete and hit save.
When you are invited to attend a social event, which could be a short afternoon visit, a dinner party, or a military ball, you have certain obligations that you must observe as the guest. You must understand the invitation, what you are invited for, where it will be held, when you should be there, and what you should wear. A written invitation will usually spell out most of these things quite clearly. Certain things are implicit in an invitation. On many invitations, you will see RSVP followed by a telephone number or an email address. In this case, the courtesy of a prompt reply by telephone or email is required to permit the host, hostess, or planning committee to plan the event properly. It is polite to call or send your message within 2 to 3 days to accept or decline the invitation. When telephoning, make sure that you call between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Do not invite someone unless the invitation clearly indicates the number and names of those invited. The invitation may specify what you should wear. For example, an Army JRTC cadet would most likely wear a Class A uniform to a dining in or military ball. In this situation, the male guest of the cadet should wear a suit, while the female guest should wear an evening dress. Some invitations may simply indicate dress as formal, informal, or casual. Be sure that you understand what these terms mean. If you are in doubt, ask the host or hostess what to wear when you call to RSVP.
When receiving a social invitation, often it will include the type of dress you should wear at the event. However, sometimes just the title of the event will provide a clue. If the invitation is for a formal event, then the general rule is that male cadets wear service dress or semi-formal service dress. A male guest can also wear a suit or tuxedo. For female cadets, service dress may be expected. For other formal occasions, a short or long evening gown is appropriate for female cadets and female guests. For male guests, a sport coat and tie are appropriate. For female guests, a daytime dress or suit is appropriate. For male guests, nice slacks and sometimes even jeans or shorts and a sports shirt are appropriate. For female guests, a sundress or slacks or shorts and a blouse or shirt are appropriate. It is always appropriate to dress modestly and in clothes that fit properly.
Be sure to write a thank you note within 2 or 3 days, and no more than a week after you have been a guest in someone's home. A thank you note should be handwritten in ink on nice writing paper. The requirements for the thank you note are in your student reading. You should be familiar with the terms dining in and dining out, which refer to formal military dinners. Many JRTC programs, including ours, use dining outs as their military balls since both are similar in tradition and activities. Protocols at these affairs often reflects long-standing traditions within the unit of the armed forces. The intent is to promote cordiality, comradeship, and esprit de corps. The history and tradition of these events is in your student reading. Toasting is a universal custom. It is a simple courtesy to a person being honored. It is improper to drain the glass after each toast. It is also improper to raise an empty glass to make a toast. You need to know how many toasts are being given so you can gauge how much to drink at each toast. Toasts are made standing up. The number of toasts and what they are will usually be in the program for the event. Remember, on the presentation and retirement of the colors, face towards the colors at attention until the ceremony is complete. Remain standing for the toasts in the invocation at the beginning of the program. You should rise again for the benediction at the end of the program.
Widespread custom in Army JRTC is the military ball. This formal event requires cadets to wear formal or semi-formal service dress and guests to wear formal attire. The military ball presents certain rules, procedures, and protocols to be observed. For example, you must wear the uniform the JRTC instructors prescribe, and your date should also be dressed in appropriate attire. An important element of a military ball is the receiving line, which is made up of the official host and hostesses. You learned about the receiving line earlier in this lesson. Careful planning is needed to ensure that the military ball, or any social occasion, is successful. The first step is for the JRTC instructors to appoint a planning chairperson. This person should be given the authority to make many of the planning decisions, although some of the decisions may be subject to the instructor's approval. One of the chairperson's first duties should be to review the file on the previous cadet organized military ball. These reports will provide the chairperson with details on what must be done to ensure a successful ball. Helpful planning tips include: be sure all arrangements are carefully made for special guests. Select a band that plays a variety of music, as well as music that does not offend anyone. Another option is a disc jockey or DJ. DJs can provide quality music at a reduced cost. If the ball is to be held during the holiday season, contact the band or booking agency at least 6 months in advance and provide them with a list of tentative dates. Arrange to have a photographer. Arrange to have several door prizes if you can find sponsors to donate them. Give credit on the program to all sponsors as well as individuals and organizations that helped put the ball together. Rehearse the color guard, POWMIA ceremony, the sequence of events, and any special activities at an actual location at least one day prior to the actual event. Be sure that the staff at the site will prepare the correct number of meals and provide the correct number of chairs and tables. And check that seating arrangements match the seating chart. Other areas to consider include sign a contract that specifies the date, fees, and total hours the hall or ballroom will be available. The hours needed to include time before the ball for decorating, as well as time after the ball for cleaning up. The band or DJ contract should specify the hours the band will play. Reserve the site and the band early so that you can be sure they are available on the desired date. A National Guard Armory, Officer or NCO Club, American Legion Hall, or high school gym are some of the appropriate places for a cadet ball. The location you choose should include a kitchen. Appoint a ticket chairperson if the cadets are going to be charged in order to pay for the ball. Ticket sales should start early and then be cut off at least 1 week before the ball. Ending sales a week before the ball gives you an accurate count of the number of people who will attend. Even if your unit has plenty of money, cadets should be charged a minimum amount for the ball so that they will value the event. Appoint a publicity chairperson to write up a series of news stories before and after the ball. Photos should be taken to go with the stories. The decorations chairperson should look over the site and start planning decorations. Supplies should be ordered or purchased at least 1 month in advance to ensure they are available. Major portions of the decoration should be completed no later than the day before the ball. Mail handwritten or engraved invitations to faculty members and special guests at least 3 weeks before the event. Keep a list of responses and provide name tags for all expected guests. The food and refreshments chairperson must know how much money has been budgeted for food and refreshments. If catering is too expensive or inappropriate, cadets can contribute food items in lieu of paying for tickets. Formal dances often provide a commercial photographer to take pictures of cadets and their dates. If a photographer is hired for this purpose, be sure that everyone knows how much the pictures will cost before they are taken. If awards are to be presented, they should be ordered, engraved, picked up, and presentation scripts written.
It is polite to RSVP to an invitation within blank days. Is it A, 1, B, 2 or 3, C, 4 or 5, or D, 7 to 10? The answer is B, 2 or 3. Next question. You shouldn't blank or take control of a conversation. Is it A, sorbet, B, repast, C, protocol, or D, monopolize? The answer is D, monopolize. A formal military dinner for military members only is known as blank. Is it A, dining in, B, dining out, C, protocol, or D, stilted? The answer is A, dining in. Blank is a code of behavior or courtesy based on rules of a polite society. Is it A, dining out, B, etiquette, C, receiving line, or D, stag? The answer is B, etiquette. A blank is a group of people, including the host and honored guests, who stand in line and individually welcome guests attending a social function. Is it A, curtly, B, repast, C, protocol, or D, receiving line? The answer is, of course, D. Receiving line. Blank are the name cards for a formal dinner. Is it A. Place cards, B. Tines, C. Stilted, or D. Marshall? The answer is A. Place cards. Next question. A formal military dinner to which non-military guests are invited is known as blank. Is it A. Dining in, B. Dining out, C. Comradeship, or D. Marshall? The answer is B. Dining out. Blank are widespread customs accepted as socially correct ways of acting. Is it A. Manners, B. Etiquette, C. Protocol, D. Foundations? The answer is A. Manners. The response a host receives from you that tells them that you will attend or not attend a function is A. Blank. Is it A. Dining in, B. RSVP, C. Good idea, D. Monopoly? The answer is B. RSVP.
We will now complete the social etiquette and manners performance assessment task. Submit your completed performance assessment to your instructor for feedback and grading. Complete the performance assessment task. From the dashboard, we're going to select Dining Out Plan. And then we're going to go down and select Performance Assessment Task. To complete this performance assessment task, you're going to create a document either in Word or in PowerPoint. And you're going to do the following. The scenario is the annual dining out is in 5 months. You have been asked to be a member of the dining out committee. The committee plans all aspects of the dining out. Complete this assignment as you prepare for the meeting and event. The committee will discuss invitations, table settings, receiving line protocol, guest speaker, and other dignitaries, proper dress, protocol for honoring the nation, and thank you notes. So you're going to create a sample invitation, okay, with the pertinent information that is contained in the lesson. You're going to draw a picture of what the table setting will look like if you have a fresh garden salad with dressing, dinner roll, tomato soup, beef tenderloin or grilled salmon, New York style cheesecake with strawberries, iced tea, and water. You're going to discuss the receiving line protocol. Who belongs in the line? What order should the guest stand in? Address an appropriate protocol for honoring the nation. Describe how you will greet the guests of honor and what attire you should wear. You're also going to create a sample thank you note for the guest speaker. You will explain the role, the annual cadet ball as a year 1 cadet, and then you will attach that file to this performance assessment task. Once you have done all of those things, you'll select met, all the way down met. Make sure you put the date, mark as complete, scroll up and hit save.
This brings us back to our essential question. Why are social etiquette and manners important?
Learning proper social conduct is an important part of your growth and character development. Although there are many forms of etiquette that pertain to almost every social occasion that you will encounter in life, the intent of this lesson was to familiarize you with proper manners and etiquette for the single most important social event in JRTC, the Cadet Ball.